the items and find out what bosses drop them, you're going to be able to find out where to get all your pets straight out of the journal from within the game. So now you've collected some pets, you've got a good amount of them, you're managing them, now you've got to level them. How do you do this? Well, you fight with other pets. When you win battles, you earn experience, and experience levels your pet. As you level, you're going to learn new abilities that you can then use in battle. Now, you're also going to have slots to place these abilities in. Every pet can use 3 abilities in battle at one time. So a pet's going to learn 6, and you get to choose any 3 of those and place them on your pet to use in the battle. And I've got it mock up so you guys can see how this looks too. Every time you level, you're going to earn stats as well. So the higher level your pet, obviously it's going to be stronger as it's growing. Now you're going to be able to level multiple pets because you're going to want to build a team. You don't want to just take one pet and get them all the way up. You might want to take a couple pets and level them all up together so that you can have a team of pets that are at similar level. So here's a look at the team interface. So this is also within the journal. It's just a different tab. And so here we've got a team. This guy has 2 pets on his team, and you can see those 3 slots for abilities where he's dragged an ability in. And those are the abilities that when this pet goes into battle, that's what shows up on the bar, and you can press that ability to use it. So over on the left, these are the pets and their level, and then on the right, you just drag them over, and that's how you would build a team. Now, how does the fighting work, right? So now you've got a pet, you've leveled them up, you want to actually fight against someone and use all this stuff that you've been earning. So you're going to be able to fight both in PvE in the world against the wild pets, but you're also going to be able to fight friends and possibly enemies using the PvP battle as well. One thing that's different, it's going to be turn-based. So we wanted to slow things down a little bit from WoW combat. WoW combat's super fast. You know, people can sometimes die in like 15, 20 seconds right away. So we wanted to introduce something that felt a little different, could slow it down, and it's something that's a little bit more of a thinking game. So mechanics-wise, you know, it's not going to be something that's going to move so quickly, you're not necessarily going to miss it or know what happened. So we wanted to give something that felt a little bit different. So it could be, you know, just people that might want to focus on that could have a different piece of content to focus on. Kind of like we were saying earlier, that we want content for everyone. We want to have a feature that a lot of different people could play, not just something that's for a small segment of the population. So you're going to fight with a team of 3, and we're going to allow you to queue. Just like we have dungeon queuing, you know, you'd be able to queue up and go against another group, and we'd look at the level of their pets so we could make sure that we put you against other pets that were within the same range. So hopefully you'd have a fight that feels something about the level that you could handle. So here's a look at what it would look like. This is just a mock-up. So one thing that's important is we want to keep the WoW characters in the scenes for the fights because they're important. They're the ones that are collecting the pets. They're the masters of the whole system. So we want to have the WoW characters actually be a part of it. When your pet does an ability, you know, your guy might do an emote. He might do something that makes sense going along with that ability that you used. You can see the bar at the bottom has the abilities you'd be casting, and then you can see your other pets kind of underneath the portraits there. This is just a mock-up, like we said, but it's, you know, something we could envision it looking like. So customization, like I said earlier, naming your pets is a big thing. So you could have a pet that you've had for a really long time, and you finally be able to give them a name and then see that name in battle. We're also talking about having items. So imagine the idea that you could have an item that we'd have an item slot on the pet. You can equip an item. Maybe you could even put gems in that item so that you could modify the stats on the pet as well. So we could pull in some of the profession systems. You're going to be able to do individual builds like we were showing you earlier with abilities. So you can take a certain pet and change his abilities and change his slots out so that your team will feel different from other teams around you. And finally, we've kind of got this concept of masters. So you're going to be able, we wanted to really have people that are into the system feel like they could travel around the world and have a reason to go to other places. So you're going to be able to go to, like, say you're going to go to Daenerys and there's a goblin there that's really great with training mechanical pets. So you'd be able to go there and fight him, and if you can beat him, he'll grant you what we're calling a master ability. And then you could use that ability on any of your pets to fight in battle. So here's a look at how this could work. So this guy's got 3 abilities at the top right now, and then he's chosen a master, and then over on the right we see the map. And that shows you where you can go to fight that master and the ability that you could get. So it just adds a little bit more depth and customization into the system as a whole. So that kind of wraps up the core features. So now I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about some of the dungeons that we're expecting to have. We're looking at doing 9 new dungeons for Mists of Pandaria. We're super excited to be able to do a lot of different new dungeons, a lot of awesome looks. There's going to be 6 dungeons specifically on Pandaria that you're going to be able to fight in. We also have something coming back that we found was very popular with Cataclysm. Just a few updates of classics. And so we picked a couple. Skullomance. And what's cool about this is we've gone into Skullomance and it's got a new layout. It's going to have bosses that are reworked with all new abilities. It's going to be a little bit easier to navigate, not so complicated, but still it's going to feel really cool, really fresh. And we're going to talk a ton about it in the dungeon panel later today. The other one is Scarlet Monastery. So Scarlet, as you know it now, has 4 wings, but some of these wings only have 1 boss, and then we have another wing that has a ton of bosses. So we wanted to take it and make it feel a little bit more even. So we're going to redo Scarlet Monastery completely and introduce it as 2 separate wings as their own unique dungeons with their own bosses. We got a few screenshots of a couple of the new dungeons. This is the Stormstout Brewery here. You're going to be helping Chin Stormstout recapture this brewery for his family heritage. This is a look at the Shadowpan Monastery. It's a really awesome outdoor dungeon. And this is the Temple of the Jade Serpent, which is in the first zone, the Jade Forest. It's another dungeon that goes indoor and outdoor. It's something we're trying to do with a lot of the dungeons, is get a whole different vibe with players going both indoor and outdoor at different times. So not to be left out, we're also obviously going to be introducing new raids. We're looking at having 3 raids to launch with. The races we're looking to feature in these raids are the Mogu and the Mantid. So we talked about a little earlier as kind of being 2 of our killer enemy races. So definitely fit well into the whole raid vibe as far as having creatures that you're going to want to kill. So as you know, we're introducing Raid Finder with 4.3 for the Dragon Soul raid. In Mists of Pandaria, Raid Finder is going to be available for all raids, right from day 1. So all the raids are going to have essentially 3 difficulty levels of Raid Finder, Normal, and Heroic right off the bat. We think it's going to be great because it's going to give that other level for people that are looking to get into raiding a chance to do that with content that really fits for them. And like Tom mentioned earlier, we're looking to bring back world raid bosses. I think the big thing here is that obviously there were problems with them originally, but I think we've figured out solutions to those problems, to the fact of them staying camped, to the fact that they drop very specific pieces of gear that players need. I think, we've got solutions to those problems, so why not bring them back? They were something that players really liked, so that's something we really want to do here for Mists of Pandaria. Like I said, we'll have a lot more info on this at the Raid and Dungeons panel later today. So, questing. What's going on with quests in the new game? A couple different things. One thing is we definitely want to focus on more max level content. It's something that we saw with Cataclysm, that people burned right through the content very quickly, and we saw that they really wanted more content to do at max level. So it's something we want to focus on here. We still obviously want a strong leveling experience along the way, but we want to make sure when you get there, you have a lot of stuff to do, and stuff that can give you Valor points that you can do at that level. So this is that kind of thing. We really want to focus on that. Things like the Molten Front from 4.2, we want to do things like that right from the beginning, so players have different choices when they hit level 90. So we're talking about having multiple hubs for that kind of stuff all over the world. Those will play into the factions as well, but it'll give players a different thing to do at max level and not just necessarily the same options that they've always had historically. Another thing that goes along with that is maybe giving some incentives to Dungeon and our Raid players for doing outdoor daily kind of stuff. So for example, say, if you did 5 daily quests, you would get a buff. And that buff, if you happen to go into a dungeon with that buff, you might get a chance to roll on a piece of loot that only shows up to the players that have that buff. So maybe you went out and did a few dailies first and then go and do the dungeon. It helps kind of motivate some play there from both sides. So like I was talking about a little earlier with Valley of the Four Winds, we're really looking to make the quests feel less linear. So not the fact that they're always going to feel completely different, but the fact that we give you some choices. So when you come back and you go through a zone, you can do it in a little bit of a different level. Same thing with flying from max level. We mentioned this earlier. It's just something that feels better to not have that. To keep people on their ground mounts, we can introduce different types of quest content that really fits. And we don't have to worry so much about people flying up in the air and landing on the boss mob to kill him right away without clearing anything along the way. It just really, I don't know, it doesn't have that good vibe to it. You didn't feel like you really did it. You kind of cheated a little bit and flew in. So by keeping people on the ground, it'll really feel better. Finally, faction improvements. Factions are something we've had in the game for a long time. We've done a number of different things with them. And here we're looking to shake it up again with offering players more ways to earn the items they want. So, whereas you look right now, we ended Cataclysm and we had Tol Barad, and we had a number of great items there, but it was kind of your only option of a place to go. We want to have more options for players to go, but still be able to use all those options towards getting the gear that they want. So we're looking at having groups of factions, and you can do any quest within these factions that you want, but they all lead towards that awesome, flying mount reward, or that one thing that you really want to get. So you don't feel like you have to grind so much. We want factions to be fun. We don't want them to feel grindy. And that's something we're really going to be focusing on here. So do we have a lot of PvPers here? Great. So we're talking about doing some new battlegrounds. We don't know exactly which of these battlegrounds we're going to do. These are all ideas that we're working on, but we figured it's Blizzcon, so we'll fill you guys in on the stuff we're thinking about, and we'll talk about a few of them. So we're looking at a couple different types of battlegrounds here with different gameplay styles. Obviously we've had CTF, and we've had kind of capture King of the Hill style games where you have to hold a certain area to earn points. So we're looking to do a couple different styles of battleground here. Another thing is we're looking to do a new arena. Right now we're calling it the Tolvir Proving Grounds, and this is located out in Old Doom. I'll have some screenshots to show you this in a little bit. So first, let's talk about the Stranglethorn Diamond Mine. The concept behind this is it's a goblin mine below northern Stranglethorn. Alliance and Horde are fighting over it to get these minerals out of it. And we're looking at doing a payload-style gameplay. So essentially, you'd have these mine cars that you have to escort to a depot. When it hits the depot, you'd get points. We're looking at multiple tracks within the actual mine itself, and the first team, essentially, to escort enough cars to the depots and get the points would win. But it would feel very varied with a lot of different options every time you play, because you could get a mine car and send it on a different track each time, and we're also talking about having you actually be able to, in the middle of the game, send the car off to a different track. A track could split, and a player could sit there and decide which way he wants it to go. So it's a unique kind of style of gameplay, something that we feel like could be really cool with WoW's PvP. So this is a look at a map of how that could work. There in the center where it says Diamond Mine would be where the carts start. And then there's a couple different tracks that lead all the way around the cave. And you can see some of the tracks split and go in different directions. There's some bridges there where when a track goes across a bridge, you could knock guys off the bridge. There's all kinds of opportunities to do cool things here. Here's some concept art for this one. This is one we've definitely gotten a little bit of progress on, to the point where we've got some playable prototypes. So next up, there's one we're talking about called the Valley of Power. And this would be about getting an ancient Mogu artifact and capturing that artifact. And Alliance and Horde both want it because it would offer power for their war against the other side. Now, the way the gameplay would work is essentially you'd have an object. And you pick up the object, and the longer you hold it, your team earns points. Now, depending on where you stand in the area of the actual map, you could earn more or less points. So if you run off in the corner and hide, you're going to earn less. But if you stay out in the middle where it's wide open, you would earn more points. The ball itself would be doing damage to you, so the longer you hold it, you're taking more and more damage. So you'd need healers with you to keep you alive. But it's a really fun style of gameplay. It's something we think, again, would fit really, really well with WoW. So here's a look at how something like this could work. We'd have some start areas on the two sides. That's a ledge going all the way around. and then some stairs that lead down kind of into a recessed area. And the orb is right there in the center. So you start and run right through for it. We've got a couple symbols